think I've talked on this channel about a sequel to the Nintendo Switch, whether you want to call it a Super Nintendo Switch, a Nintendo Switch Pro, whatever. I think I've talked about it on this channel about 42 million times. So you can understand my possible excitement when today I open up Twitter while I'm at my part-time job and I see Nintendo Switch trending. There's a new Nintendo Switch in town. I got very excited. I thought, oh man, wow, how strange. They're just going to announce it on a random Tuesday morning or whatever, or, you know, whatever time it actually was. I don't quite remember whenever I saw it. But what a weird thing to do. So I look into it and, well, guys, I'm a little disappointed because it is not a Nintendo Switch Pro. It is not a Super Nintendo Switch. What we got instead is the Nintendo Switch OLED edition, if that's what we're calling it, the OLED Nintendo Switch. And they put out this nice little video demonstrating the wonders of what they're doing here. But honestly, I'm pretty underwhelmed because essentially all we're getting is the existing Nintendo Switch with a screen that got a little bit bigger, and it's an OLED screen. This thing isn't going to be more powerful than the current Nintendo Switch. No output at 4K like the rumors were saying, because again, this is not the Switch Pro. So what I want to do here is I want to just do a quick rundown of what we got out of the Switch and kind of what I think about it. We'll kind of tease maybe what's to come in the future here at the end. So let's look at my Twitter thread here because I kind of typed it out on Twitter. For anybody that's following me on Twitter, I will do this sort of thing from time to time. But let's talk about what we've got here. The new OLED Nintendo Switch, and of course this is the fourth Nintendo Switch. There's one there everybody forgets. Everybody knows the Switch Lite, and now this one, everyone thinks, what's the fourth Nintendo Switch? Well, they did the new Nintendo Switch with a slightly upgraded version of that Tegra processor they've been running from the beginning. Not a big change at all, so everyone kind of forgets about it, but it did happen. So this is the fourth Nintendo Switch, and as I said, the biggest thing here is that we're going from a 6.2 inch screen to a 7 inch screen. They're showing here, on the Switch there's a really big bezel where the bezel got a lot smaller, and it is an OLED. It is going up from $300 to $350, so there's gonna be a $50 difference between the current Switch and the OLED Switch. The OLED Switch is not apparently replacing the current Nintendo Switch. It is just a new model. What else do we have? Nintendo's promising enhanced audio, but it is unclear what they mean by enhanced audio. They just kind of briefly mention it in the video. We are getting a much improved kickstand. That looks really good, and it looks really familiar to me. In fact, if you know me well, I have a Surface Pro device, and well, look, let's be honest, it's pretty clear where they got their inspiration for that kickstand. But hey, if somebody does something good, you might as well steal it, right? So it's adjustable, and it's the Surface Pro kickstand. So good on you, Nintendo, for stealing something good. We are also getting a wired LAN port for Ethernet. So if you want to have your Switch, you're a competitive Switch gamer, right? You got to have no latency in your Smash Bros. Well, you're going to be set to go there. But here's a strange thing that they also mentioned. The current Joy-Cons will work with the Switch Pro, which tells me that they've not changed the Joy-Cons, which makes me a little concerned that Joy-Con drift is not going away. I don't know, they didn't address this, but the fact it uses the same Joy-Cons, I'm a little bit concerned. But here is where I am the most concerned about the OLED Switch. I'm not actually all that convinced that the OLED screen on this OLED Switch is actually even going to look all that good. And I'll explain to you what I mean. The screen that is going to be in this device is almost certainly a Pentile display. And Pentile displays are fine as long as you keep the PPI very high. Now that's pixels per inch. If you take a Pentile display and an LCD display, and they're both running 720p, and they're both, let's say, 250 pixels per inch, the LCD screen is probably going to have the sharper image. Almost certainly will have a sharper image. The OLED Switch is almost certainly going to be a Pentile display at 209 ppi at 720p. On paper, there's no reason to think this screen is going to be this super tack sharp display. In fact, the specifications there indicate to me that it's probably going to look kind of fuzzy. I mean, you're going to get some benefits here. It's an OLED, so there are benefits, so let's talk about those. You're going to get an increase in peak brightness. Your blacks are going to look much more dark, so dynamic range is going to be a strong suit there, although no HDR, no proper HDR. But this thing probably isn't even going to be as sharp as the current Switch. So you're going to be asking yourself this trade-off. Better peak brightness and darker, richer blacks in exchange for sharpness. If you're an outside gamer, you take your Switch up to the park, the OLED model is probably going to be the way to go. But if you're looking for like actual clarity, image clarity, I don't know that this is going to be an improvement. We also have to talk about the fact that this Switch is the same Tegra SoC, the same RAM. So there will be no improvement in performance with the OLED Switch. This is the same internal system as the current Switch. It's just a new, bigger screen. And that's really it. But what about the Switch Pro? Because I said I teased something at the beginning of this. This is not the Switch Pro we were waiting for. This is not the droid you're looking for. But certain people in the know, like Jeff Grubb, are maintaining that they had only ever personally heard 2022 for a Switch Pro. And if it still happens, he says, I'll continue to speculate that this will have 4K output with a significantly more efficient chip with DLSS. And this is what I've talked about from the very beginning. If a Switch Pro happens, it's not going to actually natively render 4K to your TV or your monitor. It's going to do it through deep learning super sampling, which is an AI upscaling. That's been the rumor all along. That's what everybody's thought all along, and this is not that. But perhaps in one more year, we're going to get the Switch Pro. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, they're not going to do another Switch next year. This is Nintendo. They released like 87 different DSs and 3DSs. Of course, they're going to put a new Switch next year. So personally, if it's me looking at a Switch, I don't know. If you're going to upgrade, I wouldn't upgrade to this thing. This thing looks like something totally that I would wait on if I already have a Switch and wait till next year and see if the Switch Pro actually manifests. Guys, that's kind of what I think about this OLED Switch. I'd love to know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks, as always, for making it to the end of this video because it helps me out a ton in a myriad ways. Thanks, as always, to those of you who have chosen to support me through my website, scaryofloaterl.com, by hitting that donate button, and also my lovely contributors over on Flatter. Thanks so much for that. Stay tuned for more coverage just like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.